Hey guys, it's your boy Corey back at it again with another cooking episode, and today we will be making some bean tacos with fajita style vegetables and pickled red onions. I decided to go with cooking these bean tacos in order to fulfill yet another craving of mine, this time for Mexican food. And this is not an authentic dish by any means. This is simply my interpretation of what a taco is and what can go in it. That being said, my interpretation of tacos was inspired by a Mexican food truck in this hotel, I believe at Atlantic City, and the place was called Distrito, and it had this vegetarian taco which was really good. It had a bunch of stewed vegetables and then some cabbage over the top with some slaw and a nice white corn tortilla. Now, the pickled red onions you see me making were not in the original tacos which I drew inspiration from. Rather, it was just what I had in the fridge and what I thought would make a good taco. Now, I made two mistakes when crafting these pickled red onions, one of them being that I didn't submerge them with a lot of vinegar. I only used about half a cup for a whole red onion, and additionally, I did not let them sit long enough. This made it so that when they came out a few hours later, they were still in that raw onion state. And for my mistakes, I was awarded with a upset stomach, as for some reason my body does not like raw red onion or white onion. And so the pickled red onions were relegated to the fridge in favor of the other toppings I prepared. So after finishing making the red onions, I moved on to cooking the peppers and onions. But you've seen me do that before, so let's throw some music over it. And I'm back here at the stove. That saxophone solo was done by my friend Johnny Fuego. He really wanted to be in the video, and so I decided to put some of his great music in. And here, I've already begun to start making the beans. I started with a bit of olive oil in the pan and then added my minced garlic to begin frying, as well as a bit of oregano. I toasted my spices, first the oregano and then later you'll see the cumin, before I added the beans, just so that I could flavor the oil a bit before we got into adding all the beans. This is a very simple preparation of black beans because they don't really need much to shine. And I always feel like beans are sort of looked down upon because, the stigma around them about how they make you fart and stuff, which I would know very well, even though I do fart at everything I eat. But beans are a very versatile ingredient in their texture. They can be cooked to a crisp or boiled down into a nice soft paste. There are so many applications for beans and so many different types that all fit different flavor profiles. But enough talk about beans. Here, I have already begun to cook the peppers and onions by dumping them in a pan that's really hot with some ripping hot olive oil. If you want your peppers and onions to resemble vegetables that have been cooked on a fajita platter, it is crucial that you have some really hot oil. That way you get that really nice color with a slight burn on every single one of your peppers and onions. Now, the peppers and onions here are not yet ready, and the beans still have a lot of water left around, so you want to boil that off just so it sort of comes down to this, which is slightly mushy, and it's a big homogeneous glob together. Unfortunately for me, the way I cooked the beans, I excessively stirred, which broke up the beans and made them this homogeneous glob that I spoke about before. And I really wish that I had not mixed as much so as to maintain the integrity of the individual bean shapes. And this is what you want your peppers and onions to look like when they're done. Small streaks of black running along the edge of the onion, as well as overall caramelization on the onions. And finally, to add just a little more substance to the tacos, I made some quick guac, which entails squeezing a lime over some avocado, seasoning with salt and pepper, and mashing it up. And all this quick guac was supposed to do was bring an element of fattiness into the dish, which it did, but it did much more than that. It changed something within me. To start, the avocados were slightly overripe, which left them stringy and somewhat brown, but nothing a foodie like me, a connoisseur, could not tolerate. However, something else was afoot that day. These avocados were out to get me. I was chomping away at my bean tacos with fajita-style vegetables and pickled red onions with a drizzle of hot sauce, when all of a sudden, I was assaulted by this horrendous flavor, one that should never be named, one that resembled the smell of manure. And at that time, I am transported back to first period math class, a Monday. Nobody cares, nobody's awake, but they soon will be, as a small sound creeps out of the bottom of my seat. Everyone turns and stares at me, and I am embarrassed, but even more so when the scent hits them. They turn away, they cover their nostrils. I'm a leper, I feel ashamed. But am I to feel ashamed for performing my bodily functions? Should I judge the avocado for simply being the way it is naturally? Or am I to be blamed for letting it over-ripen? These tacos forever changed me, and I hope they forever change you too. Find yourself within these tacos, make them, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, folks, for tuning in to this week's installment of Corey the Herbivore.